And then when we talk about another team that's cooked, surprisingly, Minnesota, this is my, I guess, Pacers pick in this conference. So Minnesota Dallas has not panned out, I think, the way a lot of people expected. I think we all expected a little bit more of a competitive series, and it may end up that way. It might end in 6 games, and Minnesota goes on a mini run here because they have proven the ability to win away. But it just seems like Luka has their number. Seems like Gafford and Lively, admittedly, Lively went down today, so maybe that's something that benefits the Timberwolves in Game 4. Have really countered the big situation that Minnesota was relying on in the Denver series. But what would you take away from this? Is Luka cooking them, or is Carl Anthony Towns cooking Minnesota? And it's that conversation that needs to come back up again because Ant Edwards has done his part as a 22-year-old superstar. He's had good games, but he has a little bit of up and down stuff. Rudy Gobert's playing his role, and when he gets switched onto Luka, I don't think anyone's going to expect him to be the favorable matchup there. But it's Cat. It's Cat shooting almost 20 shots a game to only get 10 or 20 points tops. He's wildly inefficient. He's getting into foul trouble. He's not doing a lot. Naz Reid is outplaying him, like plain and simple, on a fraction of the contract cost. And obviously, as we sunset Minnesota, either in the next game or the game after that, does the cap conversation come real where it's we've got to figure out how to fix it because Minnesota's got a legitimate shot?
We talk every week about we don't have a stats guy, but today I can legitimately be at least a one stat guy here. Carl Anthony Towns is shooting 27% in this series, which is the fourth worst in history, all right, for a conference final. And that is probably not a top five list you want to sort of make in that sort of sense, by any means. But I think you asked the question about Carl Anthony Towns or Luca, and you said, Luca seems to have that number. Name me a player that Luca or team almost that Luca doesn't have the number for on any given night, especially across the board in a series. And even when he has lost series, it's not on him. It's supporting cast. It's been just the reality that sometimes you lose games of basketball. I think that's the reality here that he is by far the best player on the floor, even if he's not really 100%. And then with Kyrie and the sort of sidekick that he is, which is a perfect sort of, he's been there, he's done that, he's won a ring in this exact scenario next to LeBron, that he's playing his role perfectly. I think the T-Wolves are just young. I think the T-Wolves are maybe a little bit got there ahead of schedule, but they had a favorable sort of matchups in that sort of sense. And you're gonna say, well, Nuggets, how's that favorable? Well, they had three guys against one big, right? I think that's favorable to a certain extent. And at the end of the day, correct me if I'm wrong here, isn't it the team that just goes out and play generally sort of shows up? And the T-Wolves did a lot of talking, a lot of laughing. Suddenly they were like, oh my God, we're the favorites now. Yeah, and then now 3-0 down. Suddenly that sort of all become a, I don't know, smoke.
No, I like that point because Denver kind of made that point when they finished their series against Minnesota. They basically said it's a different feeling when you are the hunted versus being the hunter.
Mm.
And, Denver obviously the level of effort. It's hard to question if people really feel that, but Minnesota conquered the champs, and there's got to be some euphoric state that comes over them where they think. And I mean, collectively, we all thought it. I definitely thought it. I was like, well, if they can beat the champs, really, they're going to beat
There's a
anyone.
fine line between confidence and overconfidence.
Yes, and they came out in game one, and it ends up being pretty close. Controversial, no basket call with the cat tip. Again,
Mm.
don't let refereeing decide too much with that. Luca hits an incredible shot. That's the only reason why they win game two. It's been close. It's been close, and today's probably the biggest margin of victory for either team. And you started to kind of see the wheels fall off where they just don't have it. Um, are we done with the series? Because I have a tangent to go for now.
I think, look, can Karl Anthony Towns make 30% of his shots? I don't know. Can they steal one on the road? No, nonetheless, right? They have to steal one on the road to extend the series to at least 5 games now. Look, I picked the Mavs. I'm gonna clearly ride with the Mavs here. I don't think it really matters whether they get it done in 4, 5, 6. I can't see us like game 7 here. Someone's gonna, Luca and Kyrie are gonna put their foot down at some point and close this series out. I don't know if the T-Wolves have any real answers for that. I think that's the reality.
But I want to counter that because I do think this matters. I think for Dallas now, knowing that it's a foregone conclusion that they make the NBA Finals, they need to win it as quick as possible because not only do they want the rest, but they want to potentially put some pressure on Boston, right?
Mhm.
They don't want to give Boston extra rest here because that Porzingis X factor, when we talk about the NBA Finals matchup later in the week, that's going to be the deciding factor.
Mhm.
I'd happily take Dallas right now, right? And if Porzingis is healthy, then it makes it an interesting series. Otherwise, I actually like Dallas almost for like a gentleman's sweep. That's how confident I am in Dallas. So if they can't wrap up their series quickly and they let Boston rest for a week or 2 weeks, and Dallas just prolongs the whole thing, I think that's where it becomes pivotal. So that's now the urgency. It's not about seeing who can come back from 3-0 or get a bit more money for the NBA. It's actually they need to end this series now so that they're ready to go to put the pressure on Boston.
I'm not going to disagree that there's probably one that extra point that finishing the series early would be a good thing. Yeah, look, I guess they just got to play the way they played all sort of series long. Even I don't know. I'm gonna say here we got two sweeps, which is ironic because last week I was picking two long series and it
Mm.
just ain't panned out here. All right, less money for the owners. So sorry. Let's get on to the NBA Finals. Should we talk about this already? We know who's going to be there,
No, no,
surely.
no, no.